So Joe Biden, a.k.a. Joey B., as we know, he's been running his campaign from his basement or his. It's a room in his house. You know the room. It's the only place he's done anything from. He doesn't do any interviews with anyone. I take that back. He actually did an interview with Charlemagne the God, who is actually on The Breakfast Club, Power 105.1. You may have heard of them. They were the same place where Hillary Clinton went to do her hot sauce interview. I feel like I'm in a simulation. I may have a mental breakdown by the end of this podcast. So Joe Biden has done an interview with Charlemagne the God on Power 105. Let's take a quick snippet and see how that interview went.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
Oh, wow, that was that interview. So that's where he screwed that one up. So Joe Biden has already stuck his foot in his mouth once while trying to reach the young African-American voters by saying that, hey, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Unbelievable that Joe Biden, of all people, that Joe Biden believes that he has any say-so in how black someone is or isn't. So let's just shelf that to the side. Let's just push that on over here. We will get to that in a minute. And that's not the last Joe Biden soundbite we will have. So let's just slide that over here. So Joe Biden is decided to do a different interview. Another interview. The first interview since he nominated Kamala Harris. Imagine being Kamala Harris. And Joe Biden saying, don't worry, Kamala. I got you. I'm going to nominate you. You go get the Texas Pete. You go get the turnip greens. You know what to do. The camera will be there. I'm going to go do an interview. And I'm going to talk you up. This will be the first time that we're out there together on the ticket. And Kamala looks over and says, Joe, who are you doing the interview with? He says, Elle magazine. And she says, okay. I trust Elle. Who's the interviewee? Who's the person doing it? I know a few people over there. They're kind of hard-hitting. Who you got, Joe? Who you got? And Joe looks her right in the eyes. And Joe kind of drifts off for a second because he forgets where he is. Then he drifts back into place. And then he says, CardiB.
Who got this motherfucker started? God. Who took your bitch at the party? God. I took your bitch in the party. God. Who that be flags Martian? God.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has done one of his only interviews in his entire presidential campaign. And who does he do it with? He does it with the WAP singer herself, CardiB. Let's listen to a little bit of their interview.
You know the nickname she gave her father when she was growing up? She'd call me Joey B. So we may be related or something.
Yep, CardiB and Joey B.
You know what? If I kill somebody, I gotta go to jail. You gotta go to jail too. That's all I want.
So, now that this piece is in place, as you remember from 2016, where Hillary Clinton, the rapper that they threw in there with her was Beyonce, and now we have the full trifecta. We have the hot sauce. We have the Power 105 Breakfast Club. And now we have the female rapper, singer, whatever. Instead of Beyonce, we have CardiB. This is a carbon copy. Now, this comes at an interesting time. Because Joe Biden and whoever decided to do this interview with CardiB. This was released on August 17th. Now, it's worth a note that the like to dislike ratio is 4.5 thousand likes to 16,000 dislikes. And the interview is 16 minutes long and is absolutely terrible. It is absolutely dreadful, as dreadful can be. And that's not surprising. And we'll get to the interview. But let's go back to CardiB. So this was on August 17th. 2 days before this interview. 2 days before interviewing the nominee for President of the United States of America, Joey B. 2 days before this, CardiB posted an Instagram video. And CardiB posted an Instagram video that was a PSA. It was a PSA for all the females out there. It got 17 million views on her Instagram. Now, I'm going to play it in its entirety. Now, I am going to bleep out a bunch of the words because it is as graphic gets. If you thought WAP was bad, this is way worse. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Cardi B was putting on her Instagram 2 days before interviewing the presidential nominee.
Video so y'all can keep y'all pussy on WAP. You know what I'm saying? A lot of you bitches got the dab dry ass pussy because y'all pH balance is off. And you wanna know why? It's not because you're born with it. It's because y'all keep fucking these dirty ass. And y'all bitches is shy to tell these niggas that they is hot. You gotta tell babe, yo, your smell like mustard, my nigga. You wanna throw my pH balance off. Y'all bitches be fucking these little dirty ass. Y'all be sucking they and shit. And y'all be gagging on it. Y'all think y'all gagging on it because the is big. But no, bitch, it's because it stink. Another thing is, right, why your pH balance is throwing off, because y'all bitches need to fucking brush your teeth before you suck. Y'all eating barbecue ribs the whole day, bacon, egg, and cheese. Then you suck your and right after, he directly put it inside your pussy. Now you got bacon, egg, and cheese grease inside your pussy. You know what I'm saying? I'm only giving y'all this advice because I love you. If you don't want to take advice, all right then, bitch. Roll the dice and keep walking around with that dehydrated pussy. Like I said, I love y'all, and this is for y'all to keep the WAP.
A week before that delicious little PSA, Cardi B put out WAP with Meg Thee Stallion. So let's think about this. Cardi B puts out WAP. A week later, hits us on Instagram with the PSA that you heard, and then interviews the presidential nominee, Joe Biden. And now, I want to play a little snippet of another Joe Biden interview. Because obviously, Joe Biden is doing everything he can to get the young African-American vote. So let's take another snippet from Joe Biden on what he thinks about the African-American voting group.
Yes, and by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Guys, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I mean, we have all of this in front of us. The hot sauce, the Breakfast Club, Cardi B interviewing Joe Biden. We have Joe Biden with what he's saying to Charlemagne about you're not black if you vote for Trump. You've got Joe Biden saying that the African-American voters aren't diverse. You've got Cardi B giving you a PSA on how to keep your WAP, I guess, wappy. I don't know. And this is all a week apart. This isn't like, oh, well, that's 2 years ago. This is 2 years ago. This is a week apart. This is their master plan. I mean, think about Kamala Harris. What has Kamala Harris done since being named the vice president nominee? She has been forced to go take a turnip green hot sauce Texas Pete photo op while the presidential nominee is doing an interview with Cardi B, who is busy promoting her song WAP. Like this all is like a Bermuda Triangle or something. Like all these coordinates bouncing off of each other is just too damn much for me. It's absolutely too much. On top of that, I got Bill Clinton and John Kasich talking at the damn DNC. I mean, and it's crazy. It really is kind of crazy because Joe Biden and everyone's been saying Trump is not a presidential candidate. He's too much of a showman. He was on reality TV. He's not serious. He's not a serious candidate. Joe Biden is a serious candidate. Kamala Harris is a serious candidate. And what do they immediately stoop to do? Hot sauce pictures and Cardi B interviews. Now, before we continue on Joe Biden, Cardi B is receiving a lot of flack for this. And I do want to say that I think even though Cardi B, makes the Instagram post and she's, has WAP, and even though she is admitted to drugging men to rob them, I don't think that, that she was a stripper. Like, I don't think that all of that means she can't have a political opinion. I don't think any of that means like, oh, well, Cardi B can't possibly be in tune with, social issues or political issues. She has to just stay in her lane. I don't believe that. I don't blame Cardi B for taking the interview. I mean, if you get a chance to interview the vice president, sure, whatever. I mean, Cardi B, she's not a journalist. Cardi B did about as good of a job as she could have asked for. But it's more of an indictment on just the political process and what the political process has become. It is not two guys or two girls or whatever debating policy and debating, their structure and their plan and what they're going to do for the nation. It's just pandering to voters. And it honestly goes further back. It goes further back than this. I mean, if we go back to, P. Diddy and the vote or die and all that stuff, and, it's just more of the same. It's just morphed into this weird where who can pander the best, who can do the best, and who can cheat out the most votes. And it's just so sad. It really is sad. And these are obviously very targeted maneuvers. And so I'm really going to talk about these specific situations. But to me, what it does to me, if I was an African American, is I would really understand where I fit in this whole thing in their eyes. Because obviously they don't care about actual issues, because the last thing they're doing in the most important time, I mean, it is August 19th. We are a few months away from this election. We're just a few months away from electing the next 4 years of the President of the United States. And what are they doing? Lining up CardiB interviews, lining up hot sauce photo ops. This is Kamala Harris's debut. This is her. This is it. This is her big debut. And her first week has been nothing but a clown fiesta by whoever's pulling the strings. And I have no clue who's doing this. But it just goes to show you. I mean, it just goes to show you how little they really care about their voters when they believe that the way to the voters is with hot sauce and CardiB. I mean, that's what I think bothers me the most about this. And again, like I said earlier, I do feel weird about talking about this because it's not me they're pandering to, but I can see through this and I can just see how degrading it is. I mean, there's gotta be more. There's got to be more to these communities. There's got to be more to these voters than hot sauce and CardiB. I mean, I just don't understand. And then right now of all times is where we should be talking about, social injustice and the racial divide in our country. And again, reforming police training, kind of changing the allocation of money in some of these police departments, all that stuff. This is the prime time. There's riots in the streets. There are protests. I mean, stuff has really gone on in the past couple of months that really should be at the forefront of this, that really should be being talked about. All of this. I mean, closing the economic gaps. There's a lot of stuff that can be being talked about. A lot of stuff. But instead, it's this. And if right now it's just going to be pandering and hot sauce and CardiB and Joey B and whatever, if that's happening right now with this political and social climate that we have going on, it just goes to show you that they don't give a damn what's happening. We are in the middle of a global pandemic, and instead of talking about healthcare policy, instead of talking about relief efforts, instead of talking about what we're doing with COVID, instead of any of that stuff, we see this. Again, we have social unrest, civil unrest. Seattle has been a war zone. I mean, whole city, Minnesota defunded their police. We've got real racial issues right now, social issues right now that we need a leader. We need someone to talk about. We need this kind of stuff to be aired out, and that's what needs to be debated. Not what you put on your greens, not what you order, not if you like extra spicy or extra crispy. I don't need to hear that. And that cannot be the playbook right now. I mean, could you imagine if we're like, 9/11 or something happens, and instead of talking about what we're going to do about that, if George Bush is blaring Kenny Chesney and throwing a football through a tire swing, it's like, hey man, what the hell is this? You're not running for you're not running for class favorite. You're running for president of the United States. I mean, if it wasn't any more clear to you just how ridiculous this whole thing is, these past couple of days damn sure should have shown it. And what I think should happen is the voters should come out, and obviously they kind of are with all these dislikes and likes on these videos, but the voters have to come out and say, look, man, what the hell is this? We're not going to do this. We are not going to do this. We are not going to put up with this. We are not doing this shit again. We are not doing this again. We're not sitting back and letting this happen again. It's just like last week when I talked about how they wanted a strong, and they being the voter base wanted a strong female representative to run for president. And what do they give everyone? The most anti-woman possible. It's like, damn it, damn it, damn it. Damn it. You're not listening. You don't care. You're just, putting a wig on this and throwing it out there and hoping we buy it. And it happens again and again and again. And at some point, I understand. I really understand people who are like, look, I'm voting anti-Trump regardless. I totally get that. But someone is going to have to stand up and say, enough's enough. Enough with the hot sauce. Enough with the Texas Pete. Enough with the CardiBs and the Beyoncés and the Breakfast Club and the Kanyes and the P. Diddy's. Tell me some real stuff. Tell me how you're actually going to make this a better country. Tell me what you're actually going to do to fix this stuff. And I don't know if they can. And it's just, actually good for CardiB for whatever, even trying to ask some questions. Again, it's CardiB. So you can't expect her to be fully figured out with international policy. But CardiB's asking for free Medicare, and she's asking for, some police equality, and she's asking for free education. She's asking for a lot. She sounds like a little kid talking to Santa, honestly. And what's Joe Biden do? Joe Biden just breezes through, and he's like, there's no reason we can't have all that. What? Did Joe Biden just say, hey, we're having free education, we're having free healthcare, we're having, what are you saying, Joe? Are you even attempting to answer the questions, or is this just a let me get through this 16 minutes so I can have my face next to CardiB, and hopefully this is enough? There has to be something more substantial. There really does. And all of this happening, it's just embarrassing. It really is. And again, I certainly do not want to be, or I certainly am not qualified to be the champion for this topic, but it's just something that's so obvious and so apparent that I have to say something about it. And, I hope that people are seeing through this as easily as we are, because, again, it's painfully obvious of what's going on. And, to put a bow on this, I think that, Joe Biden and his team, Kamala Harris, whoever, is at the point now to where they've almost become parodies of themselves. I mean, this is a Saturday Night Live skit. This is a Saturday Night Live skit where they're having Kamala using the hot sauce, and they're having CardiB being a political correspondent. It's just nuts to think about CardiB being like, let's see, what's on the schedule this week? Okay, let's see, on Tuesday, I'm going to put out that PSA about the bacon and egg sandwiches. And then on Thursday, I have to sit down and I have to interview Joe Biden. And then on Friday, I get to go and do some more WAP stuff. I mean, her schedule is insane. Her schedule is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's hard for me. When I think about how the world was, or how my world was the last election, and how tuned in everyone was, and how almost for a full year it was debates, and it was, we whittled everything down, the primaries. And I remember voting for Ted Cruz, and then I remember, just all the nominees fading away, and then Trump gets the nod, and then Trump and Hillary and those debates. And I remember the whole process, and now it's just been replaced with this. And there's no debates. Everyone's in their house. All I've seen is Joe Biden. I don't even know if he's he could just be an animatronic at this point. I don't even know. All we see is Joe Biden from his basement, and he's doing interviews with CardiB, and him and Trump haven't talked at all. There's no debate there. Kamala Harris the vice president gets nominated 2.5 months before the election. She's eating greens. it's hard for me to even really care. It's like, hey, vote somebody in, elect somebody, wake me up the next day and let me know who the president is. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Bill Clinton's talking to the DNC. I don't know. I mean, what do you like? Go ahead. Do whatever you want to do. Do what you want to do. I'll see you in 4 years. I'll see you whenever you're sprinkling some crystals on your raw oysters or whatever the hell we're doing now. Like whatever the next move is. Whoever the rapper is, Billie Eilish or somebody will be doing an interview. Billie Eilish will be interviewing The Rock, and The Rock's vice president, Seth MacFarlane, will be eating a chili cheese dog and a funnel cake. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the next step is. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask about this, and I told them, hey, we'll talk about it Thursday on the podcast. And it's just kind of crazy. And reading the comments is the best part. I mean, I'm hearing people who are like upset about CardiB's video. It's like, guys, what the hell? What are we doing? I've heard people saying they're like, oh, well, CardiB's objectifying women and women think it's empowering women. It's like, dude, are you what? You got to take 50,000 steps back. That's like watching a Chief Keef video where he's got 250 guns and he's shooting the walls in his mansion, and people are like, man, we really need to regulate guns. Dude, what? You're 1,000 yards away from regulating guns. You can't listen to WAP or listen to CardiB's PSA and be like, oh man, she's kind of objectifying women. Oh, really? Did you think so? Did you think she was objectifying women? She's wearing a cheetah onesie with her nipples cut out. We are way beyond objectifying women, brother. We are way past that. We aren't even in the world of objectifying women. Objectifying women is like 50 steps closer than whatever WAP was and whatever the PSA was. And somehow that leads to interviewing the president of the United States or a presidential nominee. It's become comical. It's become really a joke. It's become too much. The simulation has hit a snag. I don't know if we're even in the simulation anymore or if the aliens or whoever got tired of pulling the strings and we've just got this now. Like, we've just got this. It's just kind of a LOL. It's just like, what's the craziest thing we can possibly do? What could be even crazier? And then it just happens. So we'll see where it goes from here. But it's a scary world. Another funny, this is something else that that's interesting with kind of how everything is that, they've kind of fed you this Kamala Harris, Joe Biden situation. And it's hard to remember because it's been so long now and so much has happened. But Biden and Kamala Harris were enemies. They were both running for president of the United States. Now, I'm sure most of you don't remember that because, the media won't tell you. But back whenever no one cared about Kamala Harris, when she was getting less than 5% of the vote, right before she dropped out, when no one was saying that we needed an Indian, Asian, Jamaican president, when no one was saying, man, look at Kamala Harris putting them hot sauce on her greens, when no one was saying that stuff, when she was an afterthought, when people were voting for Elizabeth Warren and when they were voting for Bernie Sanders over her, when, back then, her and Biden went at it. And we're going to have a fun little clip here where Biden forgets Kamala Harris is even on stage. And then just a few months later, he decides, you know what? For whatever reason, I'm thinking Kamala Harris might be the perfect running mate.
But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. So I will tell you that on this subject, it cannot be an intellectual debate among Democrats. We have to take it seriously. We have to act swiftly. As Attorney General of California, I was very proud to put in place a requirement that all my special agents would wear body cameras and keep those cameras on.
Senator Harris, thank you. Vice President Biden, you have been invoked. We are going to give you a chance to respond. Vice President Biden.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. Number one. Number two, if we want to have this campaign litigated on who supports civil rights and whether I did or not, I'm happy to do that. I was a public defender. I didn't become a prosecutor. I came out and I left a good law firm to become a public defender when in fact my city was in flames because of the assassination of Dr. King. Number one. Number two, as the Vice President of the United States, I work with a man who, in fact, we worked very hard to see to it we dealt with these issues in a major, major way. The fact is that in terms of busing, you would have been able to go to school the same exact way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's fine. That's one of the things I argued for, that we should be breaking down these lines. But so the bottom line here is, look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
I have supported the ERA from the very beginning when I ran
Vice President Biden, 30 seconds, because I want to bring other people into this.
I supported the ERA from the very beginning. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I've also argued very strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody, once they, in fact, anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice President.
Secondly, I'm part of that Obama coalition. I come out of the black community in terms of my support. If you notice, I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is,
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. First African-American. So my point is that one of the reasons I was picked to be vice president was because of my relationship, long-standing relationship with the black community. I was part of that coalition.